The anomaly awakens Dr. Catherine Myers pressed her gloved hand against the frost-covered window of the research station and watched the northern lights dance across the Siberian sky. The aurora was particularly brilliant tonight, sheets of green and blue light rippling like cosmic curtains in the darkness. What she didn't know was that this natural wonder was about to pale in comparison to what lay buried beneath the ice. "Dr. Myers, you need to see this," called Dr. Kenji Nakamura from across the cramped laboratory. The Japanese physicist's voice carried an unusual urgency that made Catherine turn away from the mesmerizing display outside. Kenji stood hunched over a bank of monitoring equipment, his dark eyes reflecting the glow of multiple screens. Data streams flowed across the displays like digital waterfalls, but it was the seismic readings that had captured his attention. The needles on the old-fashioned analog meters were dancing wildly, registering patterns that defied explanation. "What am I looking at?" Catherine asked, pulling off her thermal gloves and joining him at the workstation. "Energy readings from the deep drilling site," Kenji explained, pointing to a specific monitor. "But these aren't geological signatures. Look at the frequency patterns." Catherine studied the readouts with growing amazement. The energy signatures were too regular, too structured to be natural. They pulsed in mathematical sequences that seemed almost deliberately crafted. "This can't be right. Run the diagnostics again." "I've run them 3 times, Kenji replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "The equipment is functioning perfectly. Whatever's down there, it's not natural." The laboratory door burst open, letting in a gust of Arctic air along with Klaus Weber, the German engineer who had been overseeing the drilling operation. His normally pale face was flushed red from the cold, and his breath formed small clouds as he spoke rapidly in accented English. "We have a problem at the drilling site," Klaus announced, stamping snow from his boots. "The drill broke through into some kind of cavity 3 hours ago. The chamber is massive, bigger than anything we expected to find." Catherine felt her pulse quicken. Their international research team had been studying unusual magnetic anomalies in this remote region of Siberia for months. The readings suggested something significant lay buried beneath the permafrost. But they had expected mineral deposits or perhaps ancient geological formations, not empty chambers. "How deep?" she asked. 200 meters down, Klaus replied, unwinding the scarf from his neck. "But that's not the strangest part. The chamber is warm. Not just warmer than the surface, but actually warm. Our thermal readings show it's maintaining a constant temperature of exactly 20 degrees Celsius." Kenji looked up from his monitors with raised eyebrows. "That's impossible. There's no geothermal activity in this region." "That's what I thought too," Klaus said. "But the readings don't lie. And there's something else. The walls of the chamber appear to be lined with some kind of crystalline material. It's like nothing I've ever seen before." Catherine made a decision that would change everything. "We're going down there, tonight." The descent into the chamber felt like traveling to another world. The drilling team had installed a simple pulley system to lower equipment and personnel through the narrow shaft they had created. As Catherine rappelled down the rope, her headlamp beam cut through the darkness, revealing smooth ice walls that gradually gave way to something entirely different. The chamber was vast, easily the size of a football field, with a ceiling that disappeared into shadows above. But it was the walls that took Catherine's breath away. They were covered in crystalline formations that seemed to pulse with their own inner light, casting rainbow patterns across the chamber floor. "Incredible," whispered Alexei Volkov, their Russian guide, as he touched down beside her. "Despite His weathered appearance and practical demeanor, even he seemed awed by the sight before them. Klaus and Kenji joined them moments later, their equipment packs clanking against the chamber floor. The sound echoed strangely in the vast space, as if the acoustics were designed to amplify and carry sound in unusual ways. The crystalline formations appear to be artificial, Klaus observed, running his scanner along the nearest wall. The structure is too perfect, too uniform to be natural. Kenji was already setting up his instruments, his movements quick and efficient despite the thick gloves. I'm detecting electromagnetic fields throughout the chamber. Whatever these crystals are, they're active. Catherine approached one of the larger crystal formations, a towering structure that rose from floor to ceiling like a frozen tree. As she drew closer, something remarkable happened. The crystal began to glow brighter, its light pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. It's responding to human presence, she called out to the others. The bioelectrical field from our bodies is somehow activating them. The moment the words left her mouth, the entire chamber erupted in light. Every crystal formation began to pulse and glow, creating a symphony of color that painted the walls in brilliant hues. The effect was overwhelming, beautiful and terrifying. At the same time, "Look at this," Kenji shouted over the humming sound that had begun to fill the air. His instruments were going wild, registering energy levels that shouldn't have been possible. The crystals are creating a resonance pattern. They're communicating with each other. But the most amazing discovery was yet to come. As the crystal network reached full activation, holographic images began to appear in the air above them. Star maps, mathematical formulas, and geometric patterns materialized out of thin air, rotating slowly as if displayed for their benefit. This is a message, Catherine realized, her voice filled with wonder. Someone left this for us to find. The holographic star map showed their solar system, but with additional markers and pathways that led to other systems throughout the galaxy. The mathematical sequences were complex but recognizable, showing universal constants and principles that any advanced civilization would understand. But who left it? Alexei asked, his practical mind struggling to process what he was seeing. And why here, in the middle of nowhere? Catherine studied the holographic displays with growing excitement. The technology was far beyond anything humanity had achieved, yet the messages were clearly intended for species like them. The mathematical concepts were presented in a way that suggested the creators understood how emerging civilizations would think and learn. "I think," she said slowly, "this is some kind of test, or maybe an invitation." As if responding to her words, the holographic display shifted, showing new images. They saw representations of various alien civilizations, each one depicted at the moment they discovered similar chambers on their own worlds. The message was clear: humanity was not alone, and they were not the first to find these ancient gifts. Klaus had been recording everything, his camera capturing the impossible sights around them. This changes everything we know about human history, about our place in the universe. The crystal network continued to pulse and hum, sending out signals that Catherine somehow knew were being transmitted far beyond Earth. They had activated something that had been waiting for them, something that would announce humanity's discovery to whatever civilization had left these chambers. "We need to document everything," Catherine decided. "Every symbol, every mathematical sequence, every detail. This is the most important discovery in human history." But as they worked to record the holographic messages, something unexpected happened. Kenji's instruments detected similar energy signatures activating around the globe. The Siberian chamber was not alone. There were others, and they were all coming online simultaneously. "Dr. Myers," Kenji called out, his voice tight with excitement and concern. "I'm detecting similar activations in Antarctica, the Sahara Desert, the Amazon rainforest, and at least 7 other locations worldwide. Whatever we've triggered here, it's happening everywhere." The implications were staggering. If similar chambers existed around the world, it meant that whoever had built them had prepared for this moment on a global scale. Humanity was being tested not just locally, but as an entire species. The holographic displays began to shift again, showing real-time images of the other chambers as they activated. Each one was unique in design, but clearly part of the same network. People around the world were making the same discovery they had made, triggering the same response from the ancient technology. "This is just the beginning," Catherine whispered, watching as the star maps updated to show new pathways and connections. "We've just announced to the galaxy that humanity is ready for something bigger." As the chamber continued to pulse with alien light, the team realized they were no longer just scientists studying an anomaly. They had become ambassadors for the human race, the first to unlock a message that had been waiting for them since before recorded history began. The crystals sang with harmonious frequencies that seemed to resonate in their very bones, and Catherine knew that nothing would ever be the same. Humanity had passed the first test, but the real challenge was just beginning. Above them, the northern lights continued their eternal dance, but now they seemed different, as if the entire planet was awakening to its place in a much larger cosmic community. The age of isolation was ending, and the age of connection was about to begin. The resonance beneath the ice had finally found its voice, and humanity was listening. The human response to the world had changed overnight. Catherine Myers stood in the emergency command center that had been hastily established at the Siberian research station, watching news feeds from around the globe. Similar chambers had activated in 12 locations worldwide, each one drawing thousands of scientists, military personnel, and curious civilians to remote locations that had suddenly become the most important places on Earth. "The Brazilian site is reporting the same mathematical sequences," reported Dr. James Harrison, a British mathematician who had been flown in along with dozens of other specialists. "But their crystals are presenting the problems in a completely different visual format." Catherine nodded, studying the reports flooding in from each location. The pattern was becoming clear. The ancient civilization, whoever they were, had created a global network of chambers that would activate simultaneously once humanity reached a certain level of technological development. But these weren't just monuments or messages, they were interactive tests. "Dr. Myers, we have a problem," Kenji announced from his expanded workstation. Multiple screens showed data streams from all 12 sites, and the patterns were becoming increasingly complex. "The mathematical sequences are evolving. Each solution we provide triggers more difficult challenges." Klaus approached from the main communication hub, his expression grim. "The Antarctic team reports that their chamber has sealed itself off. The crystals went dark after they failed to solve the latest sequence within the given time frame. They're completely locked out." The implications were sobering. This wasn't just a test of human intelligence. It was a test with consequences. Success meant continued access to the alien technology and presumably whatever lay beyond. Failure meant isolation, possibly permanent. "How many sites are still active?" Catherine asked. 8, Kenji replied. "We've lost Antarctic, the Sahara installation, the Australian chamber, and the one in Greenland." The remaining sites are in Siberia, Brazil, Indonesia, Nepal, Canada, Norway, Chile, and Madagascar. Catherine studied the global map displaying the active sites. The pattern seemed random at first, but as she considered the locations more carefully, she realized they were distributed to ensure representation from every major population center and culture on Earth. This wasn't coincidence. It was deliberate design. The creators wanted diversity, she murmured. They wanted different human perspectives working on the same problems. As if responding to her insight, the Siberian chamber suddenly filled with new holographic displays. But these weren't mathematical sequences or star maps. They were communication feeds showing the other active sites around the world. Scientists in Brazil waved at their counterparts in Nepal, while researchers in Norway shared data with teams in Chile. "It's connecting us," Klaus said in wonder. "The network is allowing real-time communication between all the sites." The voice that emerged from the crystal network was unlike anything they had heard before. It wasn't spoken in any human language, yet somehow everyone understood it perfectly. The words seemed to form directly in their minds, bypassing the need for translation. "Greetings, children of Earth," the voice said, warm and ancient. "We are the architects, and we have been waiting for you to mature enough to receive this message. You have activated our testing network, and your species has shown remarkable promise." Catherine felt her heart racing. This was it, the moment. Humanity made first contact with an alien civilization. But the being speaking to them wasn't physically present. This was a recording, a message left behind by a civilization that had vanished long ago. "The tests you have been solving are not merely intellectual exercises," the architect continued. "They are challenges that we ourselves faced when we were young as a species. Each problem teaches cooperation, creativity, and the willingness to think beyond conventional boundaries." The holographic displays shifted, showing scenes from the architect's own history. They had been explorers and builders, spreading across the galaxy not as conquerors but as gardeners, nurturing younger civilizations and leaving behind tools for growth and development. "But we made mistakes," the voice admitted, and the images showed civilizations that had been given too much too quickly, collapsing under the weight of advanced technology they weren't ready to handle. "We learned that true advancement must come from within, earned through struggle and cooperation." Catherine understood. The architects had created these chambers as a safeguard, a way to ensure that species like humanity would prove their readiness before being invited to join the galactic community. "Your species shows great promise," the architect continued, "but you also show great danger. You have the capacity for both incredible creativity and terrible destruction. The final test will determine which path you choose." The chamber around them began to transform. The crystal formations rearranged themselves, creating new patterns and configurations. But more importantly, the same transformation was happening at all the remaining active sites simultaneously. "The final challenge requires not just intelligence, but wisdom," the voice explained. "You must work together, not as separate nations or cultures, but as one species. The solution can only be found through unity." The new holographic displays showed a complex three-dimensional puzzle that seemed to extend across all 8 remaining sites. Each location held a piece of the solution, but no single site could complete the puzzle alone. They would need to coordinate their efforts across continents and cultures. "Dr. Myers," came a voice from the communication hub. "We're getting reports that the chamber configurations are identical at all sites. Whatever this puzzle is, it's designed to require global cooperation. Catherine looked around at her international team. They had already proven that cooperation was possible. Scientists from different nations working together toward a common goal. But this challenge would test humanity on a much larger scale. Open channels to all sites, she ordered. We need to coordinate this effort. The next several hours were unlike anything in human history. Scientists, engineers, and mathematicians from around the world worked together in real time, sharing data and insights across the crystal network. Language barriers dissolved as the architect. Technology facilitated perfect communication between all participants. The puzzle was elegantly designed to require different types of thinking. The mathematical components needed precise, logical reasoning, while other sections required creative leaps and intuitive understanding. Some parts could only be solved through cultural insights that reflected the unique perspectives of different human societies. The Indonesian team has solved the harmonic resonance section, reported Dr. Sarah Kim, a linguist who had been coordinating communication between sites. Their understanding of gamelan music theory provided the key insight, and the Chilean team cracked the geological component, added Klaus. Their experience with seismic patterns in the Andes gave them the knowledge we needed. Catherine watched in amazement as the global solution took shape. Each culture, each nation, each individual brought something unique to the puzzle. The architects had designed it to showcase humanity's greatest strength, diversity of thought and experience. But the most challenging aspect wasn't intellectual, it was emotional. The puzzle required trust. Each site had to input their solution components simultaneously, with no guarantee that the other sites would do the same. It was a test of faith in their fellow humans. All sites report ready, came the announcement from the communication hub. Solution components are in place and awaiting final synchronization. Catherine looked around at her team, then at the faces of scientists from around the world displayed on the holographic screens. They had come together in a way that politicians and diplomats had never achieved, united by curiosity and the desire to represent humanity at its best. On my mark, she said, her voice carried to all 8 sites simultaneously. 3, 2, 1, execute. The solution cascaded through the network like a wave of light. Each site's crystals flared with brilliant illumination as their component was accepted and integrated with the others. The puzzle pieces aligned perfectly, creating a pattern of stunning beauty and complexity. The chamber fell silent for a moment, then filled with a sound like cosmic wind chimes. The architect's voice returned, but now it carried a warmth that hadn't been there before. Congratulations, children of Earth, the voice said. You have passed the final test. You have proven that your species can work together, that you can think beyond your differences, and that you can be trusted with the responsibilities of galactic citizenship. The holographic displays shifted one final time, showing star maps that revealed the locations of other civilizations throughout the galaxy. Trade routes, communication networks, and scientific exchanges that had been hidden from humanity were now open to them. But remember, the architect warned, with great knowledge comes great responsibility. You have earned the right to join the galactic community, but you must continue to prove yourselves worthy of that privilege. As the message concluded, the crystals began to emit a new type of energy. Advanced technologies flowed through the network, blueprints for clean energy systems, medical advances, and space travel capabilities that would transform human civilization. But they came with built-in safeguards, ensuring they could only be used for constructive purposes. Catherine felt tears streaming down her face as she realized what they had accomplished. Humanity had not just passed a test, they had proven themselves worthy of something greater than they had ever imagined. "Dr. Myers," Kenji said softly, "we're receiving transmission requests from 12 different star systems. They want to welcome us to the galactic community." Catherine smiled, looking around at her team and the faces of their colleagues from around the world. They had started as scientists investigating an anomaly in the Siberian ice. They were ending as ambassadors for the human race, ushering in a new age of cosmic cooperation. "Open the channels," she said. "It's time for humanity to take its place among the stars." The resonance beneath the ice had found its purpose, and humanity had found its destiny. The age of isolation was over, and the age of connection had truly begun.